Worry does not empty tomorrow of its sorrow. It empties today of its strength. Corey 10 Boom. Chosen ones, listen closely. What if the anxiety you feel isn't a warning, but proof it's already secured? Why does fear show up right when things stop moving? This message reached you now because there's nothing left to chase. Stay here. You're about to understand why. Worry often shows up at the exact moment things are finally falling into place, and that confuses many chosen ones. You expect relief, excitement, or instant peace, but instead your mind starts racing. This happens because your inner world is adjusting to a new reality. For a long time, you were trained to survive, to anticipate problems, to stay alert. When stability begins to form, that old survival setting doesn't switch off immediately. It looks for danger, even when there is none. Think of it like walking on uneven ground for years. You learn to watch every step. When the road finally becomes smooth, your body still braces itself out of habit. That tension doesn't mean the ground is unstable. It means you're not used to safety yet. Worry works the same way. It's not predicting loss, it's reacting to unfamiliar calm. Another reason worry appears is because ownership feels different from pursuit. When you were striving, your role was clear: push, fix, chase, prove. Now there's less to do, and that silence can feel unsettling. The mind fills quiet space with questions because it mistakes stillness for risk. But this phase isn't emptiness, it's completion settling in. Many people also associate value with struggle. If things come together without drama, the mind wonders, did I miss something? That question is a leftover belief, not a signal from reality. Growth doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it locks in quietly. This is why worry at this stage should be observed, not obeyed. It's a transitional response, not a truth. The foundation is already there. Your awareness just hasn't caught up yet. Instead of trying to eliminate the worry, allow it to pass without feeding it. Each time you do, your nervous system learns a new lesson. Safety is allowed, ease is real, and stability can exist without constant effort. This phase isn't asking you to fix anything. It's asking you to trust what has already been built. There is a big difference between effort energy and receiving energy, and many chosen ones feel confused when the shift happens. Effort energy is familiar. It's the state where you plan constantly, push forward, stay alert, and believe that if you stop moving, everything might fall apart. This mode helped you survive difficult phases. It trained you to be strong, resilient, and persistent, but it was never meant to be permanent. Receiving energy feels quieter. There's less urgency, less mental noise, and fewer dramatic signals. That's why it can feel uncomfortable at first. When you're used to earning everything through struggle, ease can feel undeserved or suspicious. Your mind may ask, shouldn't I be doing more? But receiving doesn't mean being passive. It means allowing what is already aligned to meet you without resistance. Think of effort energy like rowing a boat upstream. You're focused on every stroke because stopping feels dangerous. Receiving energy is when the current finally turns in your favor. If you keep rowing with the same intensity, you exhaust yourself and fight the flow. The skill now is knowing when to rest your arms and let the movement carry you forward. This shift often shows up as fatigue, loss of motivation to force outcomes, or a desire for simplicity. That's not laziness. It's your system recalibrating. Your nervous system is learning that results don't always require tension. You can still take action, but it comes from clarity instead of fear. Letting go of effort energy doesn't erase your discipline or strength. It refines it. You act when it's natural, pause when it's not, and trust that momentum doesn't disappear just because you stop pushing. This is how receiving begins, not by doing less out of fear, but by doing what's aligned without strain. Silence often feels unsettling because we're taught that progress must be loud, visible, and constant. For chosen ones, silence usually appears when something is no longer being tested. When life was loud, it was negotiating with you, presenting challenges, resistance, and repeated lessons to see what you would choose. Once those choices are made, the noise fades. Silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means the outcome is no longer up for debate. Think of a contract that's already signed. There's no back and forth anymore, no reminders, no pressure. The process moves forward quietly. In the same way, when something is truly yours, life stops sending dramatic signals. It doesn't need to convince you. Many people mistake this quiet phase for stagnation because there are fewer emotional highs and lows. But those extremes were part of learning, not owning. Ownership feels steady. It doesn't rush you, and it doesn't demand constant attention. That steadiness can feel strange if you're used to chaos as proof of movement. This is why the silence can feel uncomfortable at first. Your mind expects cues, signs, confirmations, obstacles to stay engaged. When they're gone, the mind searches for meaning in the quiet. But the quiet itself is the meaning. Silence is life saying, "This is settled." There's nothing left to chase, fix, or question. The work now is not to interrupt that calm with doubt, but to allow yourself to stand in it. When you stop mistaking quiet for absence, you start recognizing it as security. There comes a point when preparation ends and placement begins, and this is where many chosen ones feel unsure. Preparation is active and demanding. It involves lessons repeating, doors closing, and constant inner correction. You're shaped, refined, and tested because you're not ready to hold what's coming yet. Placement feels very different. The lessons slow down, the pressure eases, and life starts arranging you rather than challenging you. If you notice that the same problems are no longer showing up, that's a sign you've moved past training. You're no longer being asked, "Can you handle this?" Instead, life is asking, "Where do you fit best?" That shift can feel confusing because growth used to be tied to struggle. Now, growth looks like stability, consistency, and being put in the right environment. Placement doesn't always come with celebration. Often, it arrives quietly through subtle changes, new responsibilities, calmer relationships, clearer boundaries, or a stronger sense of self. You may feel less reactive, less desperate to prove yourself, and more selective with your energy. That's not stagnation. That's alignment taking form. Another sign of placement is that you're no longer being pulled in many directions. Your path feels narrower but clearer. Distractions lose their grip, and things that don't belong begin to fall away without force. You're not chasing opportunities anymore. You're being positioned where you naturally belong. This stage asks for patience, not effort. You don't need to rush or recreate old challenges to feel productive. Trust that preparation did its job. Now, your role is to stand where you are placed and let life work through you, not against you. Doubt often appears right after the door has already opened, not before. This surprises many chosen ones because they expect confidence to arrive first and results to follow later. In reality, the mind checks for certainty only after change becomes real. When something finally becomes available to you, the brain scans for risk, asking, "Is this safe to accept?" That question isn't a warning, it's a habit. For a long time, struggle kept you alert. You learn to associate safety with preparation and tension. When ease appears, the mind doesn't recognize it as progress. It looks for familiar signals like obstacles or resistance to confirm that you're still doing it right. When those signals don't show up, doubt steps in to fill the gap. Think of doubt here as a final security check, not a red flag. It's similar to standing at an open door and pausing, not because the room is dangerous, but because you've never been allowed in before. The hesitation comes from unfamiliar access, not from threat. Another reason doubt shows up is because ownership requires responsibility. Wanting something keeps it safely in the future. Accepting it brings it into the present, where you must live with it. That shift can feel heavy, even if what you're receiving is good. Doubt tries to delay that responsibility by pulling you back into questioning. This is why reacting to doubt with panic only strengthens it. The goal isn't to fight the doubt, but to recognize its timing. It arrived late. The door is already open. You don't need to analyze it further. You just need to step forward and let certainty grow through experience, not overthinking. At some point, Wanting slowly turns into expecting, and that shift changes everything. Wanting keeps your focus on what's missing. It carries hope, effort, and anticipation, but it also reinforces distance. Expecting feels quieter. It doesn't rush or beg. It simply assumes arrival. Many chosen ones don't notice this shift because it happens internally before anything changes on the outside. When you expect something, your behavior softens. You stop checking constantly. You make decisions as if the outcome is already considered. There's less emotional attachment to timing because you're no longer trying to convince life to respond. This is why expecting can feel almost neutral compared to wanting. The excitement fades, but clarity increases. You might notice that you no longer talk as much about what you're waiting for. You don't need validation or reassurance from others. There's a subtle confidence in how you carry yourself, even if you can't fully explain it. This isn't arrogance. It's internal alignment settling in. Expecting also changes how you handle delays. Instead of spiraling, you adjust. You trust that pauses don't mean denial. This mindset allows you to stay grounded without forcing outcomes or interpreting every sign emotionally. This shift is important because life responds differently to expectation than to desire. Desire pushes outward, expectation creates space. When you stop reaching and start allowing, things approach naturally. That's when movement feels effortless. You're no longer asking if it will happen, you're calmly preparing for how you'll receive it. Being chosen is not the final step, learning trust is. Many chosen ones assume that once selection happens, certainty should be automatic. But selection often comes before trust because trust can only grow through experience. You were chosen long before you felt ready, and now your role is to relax into that truth instead of constantly reevaluating it. Trust feels different from belief. Belief can be emotional and intense. Trust is calm and steady. It doesn't require signs, reminders, or reassurance. That's why this phase may feel strangely quiet. There's no dramatic confirmation because you're no longer being convinced. You're being asked to stand firmly without proof in every moment. This stage can feel uncomfortable because it removes the need to control outcomes. When you trust, you stop managing every detail. For someone who survived by staying alert, this can feel risky. But trust doesn't mean carelessness. It means knowing that what's meant for you isn't fragile. Another challenge of this phase is letting go of spiritual bargaining. You're no longer trying to earn alignment by doing more, being better, or waiting longer. The selection is complete. Now it's about allowing life to unfold without constant internal negotiation. Trust matures quietly. You may notice fewer emotional swings, less urgency to fix things, and a deeper sense of inner steadiness. That's not detachment, it's confidence without noise. When trust settles in, you stop asking, "What if it doesn't work?" and start living as if it already has. There comes a moment when proving yourself no longer serves a purpose, even if it once felt necessary. Many chosen ones spent years explaining their choices, defending their path, or seeking validation to feel secure. That phase was about building inner strength. But once alignment is in place, proof becomes unnecessary. What's real no longer needs confirmation. When you stop needing to prove yourself, your energy shifts. You speak less, but your words carry more weight. You don't rush to be understood because you're no longer afraid of being misunderstood. This quiet confidence isn't withdrawal, it's self-trust taking root. You may also notice that comparison loses its grip. You're less interested in measuring progress against others because your direction feels personal and clear. The urge to compete fades, not because you lack ambition, but because your focus has narrowed to what actually matters to you. Another sign of this stage is comfort with being unseen. You don't need constant recognition to feel valuable. You know who you are and what you carry, even if others don't fully recognize it yet. That inner knowing creates stability that outside approval never could. Letting go of proof doesn't make you passive. It makes you grounded. You act from alignment instead of insecurity. When you no longer need to convince anyone, including yourself, you move with ease. That's when presence becomes your authority and silence speaks louder than effort ever did. Chasing often feels productive, but it quietly signals lack. For a long time, movement and effort were necessary because you were building momentum. But there comes a point when chasing begins to push away what is already aligned. For chosen ones, the end of chasing isn't giving up. It's a sign that gravity has shifted. When you stop chasing, you create space. That space allows things to come toward you naturally. Instead of constantly reaching, you start noticing what's already responding. Opportunities, connections, and clarity begin to approach without force. This can feel strange at first because you're used to initiating everything. Stillness doesn't mean stagnation. It means your energy is no longer scattered. You're no longer sending mixed signals by wanting and doubting at the same time. Your presence becomes an anchor, and what belongs to you recognizes that stability. Think of chasing like running after something that keeps moving ahead. Stillness is standing firmly so what's meant for you can lock onto your position. When you're grounded, alignment doesn't need effort to find you. This shift also protects your energy. You stop investing in things that require constant convincing. You choose what feels mutual, steady, and clear. The moment you stop chasing is often the moment things begin to move faster, because now you're no longer in the way of what's already trying to reach you. As life becomes calmer, many chosen ones notice that their old coping habits no longer work the way they used to. Stress-driven routines, constant planning, overworking, or emotional buffering once helped you stay afloat. They kept you alert and functional during uncertain times. But when stability begins to form, those same habits start to feel uncomfortable or unnecessary. This can create confusion because you may not know how to operate without pressure. When struggle was constant, it gave structure to your days and a sense of purpose. Without it, there's an empty space that asks a new question. Who are you when you're not bracing for impact? You might feel restless even when nothing is wrong. That restlessness isn't failure, it's transition. Your identity is shifting away from survival mode. Your nervous system is learning that it doesn't need constant stimulation or control to stay safe. This phase invites you to build new ways of grounding yourself. Instead of reacting, you respond. Instead of filling every moment, you allow pauses. Over time, peace stops feeling boring and starts feeling supportive. Letting old coping habits fall away doesn't erase your strength, it reveals it. You're discovering that you can exist without tension, and that stability doesn't need to be managed. It can simply be lived. Many chosen ones carry a quiet fear of being behind, especially when progress doesn't look dramatic. You may look around and wonder why others seem further ahead, louder, or more visible. But timing works differently for you. Being early often feels like being late because there are fewer reference points. You're moving before the crowd arrives. Your path required internal alignment before external recognition. While others were collecting visible results, you were building depth, awareness, and resilience. That kind of preparation isn't obvious from the outside, but it creates long-term stability. When your moment arrives, you won't need to rush or scramble. You'll already be ready. Being early also explains why certain environments stopped fitting you. You outgrew spaces before replacements appeared. That gap can feel like delay, but it's actually transition. You're between versions of yourself, not off track. Chosen ones often arrive quietly, without announcements or applause. Your impact unfolds gradually, not through sudden exposure. This protects what you're building and allows it to mature naturally. So if it feels like you're waiting while others move ahead, pause that story. You're not behind. You're positioned ahead of timing, learning how to stand alone before the path fills in around you. After major inner shifts, emotions don't always update at the same speed as reality. This creates a gap where your life may be stabilizing, but your feelings still carry old tension. Many chosen ones mistake this emotional lag for intuition, when it's actually the nervous system catching up to change. Your mind and body learned patterns during uncertain times. They stayed alert to protect you. When circumstances improve, those systems don't instantly relax. They wait for proof. That's why you may still feel uneasy even when nothing is going wrong. It's not a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that safety is new. Think of it like stepping into a warm room after being outside in the cold. It takes time for your body to register the warmth. The delay doesn't mean the room isn't warm enough. It means your system is adjusting. This phase requires patience rather than analysis. Trying to fix your emotions only prolongs the transition. The most supportive response is consistency, showing your system, day after day, that calm is real and lasting. As this adjustment completes, the worry softens naturally. Emotional stability doesn't arrive as a sudden feeling, it settles gradually. When you allow your feelings to catch up without pressure, your inner state aligns with the stability that's already present. Often the most important changes happen without drawing attention to themselves. While you were focused on getting through each day, quiet systems were forming in the background. Boundaries strengthened. Self-respect became consistent. Decisions became clearer. These shifts didn't announce themselves, which is why you may have overlooked how stable things have become. Stability doesn't always arrive as a big moment. It shows up as fewer emotional reactions, less chaos in relationships, and a stronger sense of what you will and won't tolerate. You may notice that problems resolve faster or don't escalate the way they used to. That's not luck, it's structure finally holding. Another sign of hidden stability is how you respond under pressure. Situations that once drained you now feel manageable. You recover faster. You don't spiral the way you used to. These are signs that your foundation is stronger, even if your circumstances haven't dramatically changed yet. Because this stability formed gradually, your mind may still be looking for the big sign. But the real confirmation is how little effort it takes to stay grounded now. You're no longer constantly rebuilding after setbacks. Recognizing this stability helps you relax into it. When you acknowledge what's already working, you stop waiting for proof and start living from a place of quiet confidence. Many chosen ones notice something unexpected during this phase. The excitement fades. There's no rush, no adrenaline, no emotional high. At first, this can feel disappointing or confusing, as if something important is missing. But this calm is actually a sign of arrival, not loss. Excitement often comes from uncertainty. It's the emotional response to chasing, hopping, and waiting. When things stabilize, that intensity naturally drops. What replaces it isn't emptiness, it's peace. Peace doesn't demand attention, which is why it's easy to overlook. This shift can feel strange if you're used to emotional peaks as proof of progress, but constant excitement keeps the nervous system activated. Calm allows it to settle. That settling is what makes stability sustainable instead of temporary. You may also notice that your joy feels quieter now. It shows up as contentment, clarity, and ease rather than bursts of emotion. This doesn't mean you care less. It means you're no longer fueled by tension. When you stop expecting excitement to confirm success, you begin to appreciate steadiness. Calm becomes the new signal that things are right. And once you recognize that, you stop searching for intensity and start trusting peace. Control and certainty can look similar on the surface, but they come from very different places. Control is driven by fear. It tries to manage every outcome to avoid disappointment. Certainty doesn't need to manage anything. It rests in knowing, even without visible proof. When you're operating from control, your mind stays busy. You replay conversations, plan every step, and prepare for worst-case scenarios. It feels productive, but it's exhausting. Certainty feels quieter. You don't need to think as much because you're not trying to prevent something from going wrong. Many chosen ones struggle with this shift because control once kept them safe. Letting go of it can feel irresponsible, but certainty doesn't remove awareness or wisdom. It removes panic. You still act when needed, but your actions come from clarity rather than urgency. Certainty also changes how you respond to uncertainty. Instead of spiraling, you wait. You observe. You trust that answers will appear when required. This doesn't make you passive, it makes you grounded. As certainty settles in, you stop forcing outcomes. You allow events to unfold without interference. That ease is not carelessness. It's confidence without tension. And once you experience that difference, control no longer feels necessary. When you hear the phrase, "it's already yours," it doesn't mean everything appears instantly. It means ownership has shifted internally before it shows externally. You've accepted something as part of your life, not as a distant possibility. This inner permission is what allows things to settle into place naturally. Ownership changes how you move. You stop negotiating with yourself. You make choices that reflect stability rather than uncertainty. Even without visible results yet, your posture toward life changes. You're no longer waiting to be chosen. You're acting from knowing you already are. This is why manifestation often feels anticlimactic. The biggest shift happens quietly inside. External changes follow that inner alignment, not the other way around. Overthinking is often the last habit to fall because it once served as protection. It helped you anticipate danger and stay prepared. When life becomes calmer, the mind doesn't immediately trust that calm. It keeps analyzing, just in case. Instead of fighting thoughts, this phase asks for observation. Let thoughts pass without assigning meaning. Not every question needs an answer. The mind will eventually slow down when it realizes there's nothing urgent to solve. Overthinking fades not through force, but through consistency. Each time you choose presence over prediction, you teach your system that peace is safe. Your role is shifting from seeker to holder. You're no longer searching for direction, you're stabilizing what you've gained. This changes how others experience you. People may feel calmer around you without knowing why. You carry steadiness now. Your presence doesn't rush or react. It grounds. This is the quiet influence of someone who has moved beyond chasing and into alignment. Staying aligned now doesn't require effort or constant correction. The foundation is already set. Alignment at this stage is about simplicity, paying attention to what feels steady and choosing it without overthinking. When something feels forced, it's a cue to pause, not to push harder. Gentle routines, honest boundaries, and moments of stillness are enough to maintain this state. You don't need rituals or constant reassurance. Alignment holds when you stop interfering with it. Trust your natural rhythm. When you respond instead of react, life stays cooperative. Nothing that is meant for you is being taken away. This fear often surfaces when things finally settle, because loss feels more threatening once you have something to hold. But what's aligned doesn't disappear without reason. What's yours is secure because it matches who you've become. You no longer need to guard it through worry. The process is complete, even if the picture is still filling in. This chapter isn't about striving or waiting. It's about living from certainty. What was meant to arrive has arrived. Now, you're simply learning how to stand comfortably in it. As this message comes to a close, remember the core truth that's been woven through everything you've heard. There is nothing you need to chase anymore. What was meant for you has already aligned, and your only work now is to stay present with it. The worry, the doubt, and the overthinking were part of an earlier chapter, one that shaped you, but no longer defines you. You're standing on a steadier foundation than you realize. If things feel quieter, calmer, or less dramatic than before, let that be reassurance. Stability doesn't announce itself loudly. It supports you silently. You've grown into a version of yourself that can hold what you once hoped for, and that growth is real, even if it feels subtle. Carry this knowing with you as you move forward. Let your actions come from confidence rather than fear, and allow life to meet you without resistance. You don't have to force the future. You're already living from the place you were trying to reach. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to like this video so it can reach others who may need it too. Share it with someone who's been carrying unnecessary worry. Subscribe to the channel for more messages like this, and comment below with what stood out to you or where you're choosing trust over worry today.